Okay, who's ready to hear some PR techniques? Yes or yes? Yes. There we go. Got to wake you guys up. Okay, now our panel tonight, like I've said many times, amazing panellists. We've actually got Sally, who's come down from Brisbane for tonight's event. We've got Monica, who's come down from Sydney. And we've got Di, who you work around the corner. Yeah. There we go. So, big round of applause to our panellists first off. Okay, now Di, we'll start with you. Give us a little bit of a background.
Okay, a little bit of a background.
Yep.
All right, I've been a publicist for many years. Actually, I was a publicist with Village Roadshow, and I was formerly a television producer before that with Don Lane, and Steve Bizard came afterwards, but...
You don't do his PR anymore?
No, but he's a good mate. And actually, Steve Bedwell is launching his book tomorrow night, so that'll be a good night. Because he's got a good story to tell, Steve, I thought. Interesting. But I have been a publicist on my own for 6 years, and I was with Paul Dainty for 5 years. So I was on the road with rock bands for 5 years. I literally lived out of a suitcase for 5 years and travelled around Australia with some of the biggest names in showbiz, Neil Diamond and Phil Collins and the Rolling Stones and
recently the Dalai Lama.
And the Dalai Lama. Yeah, I did some work for the Dalai Lama because he has to have publicity, believe it or not. We have to spread his word.
Beautiful. Well,
and that was a wonderful experience. So.
Fantastic. We'll find out more about that in a minute. Monica.
Thank you. Hi there, my name is Monica and I'm from Sydney. Very happy to be in Melbourne, so thanks for having me. I've got a business called WordStorm, and I founded the business in the year 2000 after working at a current affair for 2 years and learning about how not to do PR. On a daily basis, we dealt with PR people who had no idea how to pitch a story to a journalist, and I really thought I didn't want to be running around the Channel 9 rat race forever, and I decided that there was an opportunity to start a PR company where the agency really understood the ins and outs of the media. So I've got a team of 9, including myself and my husband, who run the business, and we work with a really wide range of clients and industries. Some of our clients include Just Cuts, Echo Shoes, Pack and Send, Dilmati, Triumph Lingerie, and then a wide range of smaller businesses who you haven't heard of yet, but you will hear of shortly if we do our job well. So that's what I'm about, and looking forward to spending the next hour with you. Thanks.
Fantastic. Sally.
Hi there, and my name's Sally Romano, and I have a business called Publicity Queen, and we specialise in small business publicity, and I have a new take on publicity called True Publicity, and that is, so we just don't look at traditional media in terms of getting publicity for small business, but also we look at a whole range of other techniques. I was based in Melbourne when I organised this speaking event, have since moved to Brisbane, and so do work in Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane, basically. So yeah, lovely to be here. I can't wait to talk PR.
We'll actually start with you.
Right.
Now, tonight's event is very much branding ourselves. So how important is it to brand ourselves as the individual apart from just the business, from your perspective?
To be honest, my theory is it's not that important, depending on the business model it is that you want to develop. So if your name is very closely wrapped up in the business, then obviously you will need to develop a brand for yourself. But if you are in fact selling socks or offering computer IT services, etc., then really you want to take a back seat to the brand of your business. So you really want to concentrate very heavily on that brand, because then as you become more successful and grow, you don't want everyone to say, Joe, I want you to do my work. You want them to want your business to do the work.
That's when we charge tens of thousands of dollars, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
So I guess that poses a problem for a lot of business owners, that they do brand themselves as the business. Then what happens when they go to sell it?
I think that is a problem, yes, and I think it's very important to move away from that as quickly as you can, and that is you are the managing director of the business, but in fact you want to promote the business so that you have room for growth and you can leverage other people's time and money and service more clients and expand the business. So really it's important that in terms of getting publicity, you focus very heavily on the business.
Fantastic. Monica, pass over to you. Now, tell us about, because you namely focus on branding the overall business, is that right?
Yeah.
Yep. Tell us, why is that important, and why should smaller business owners actually be looking at doing that?
Well, we generally work with clients over a long period of time because we believe that there's no point doing a quick splash of PR and then not doing anything. Really effective PR is about getting consistent media exposure over a period of time. And the way we structure our campaigns so that we can spread out the angles is we meet with our clients every month. So if you were to do some PR, maybe you could get together with your team or your business partner or family or friends or anyone who'll sit down with you for half an hour to have a bit of a brainstorming session. And we really talk to our clients about what's been going on in the business. And from our conversation, we come up with a couple of really good angles that we feel the media would be interested in writing about. The reason they're interested in writing about it is because their readers, viewers or listeners want to hear about those topics. So some angles will be more relevant for some media than others. For instance, one of our clients, Just Cuts, every month we decide on 2 angles we're going to focus on. So one, the owner might say to us, look, we're doing a big recruitment drive this month or for the next 3 months, so can you really focus on recruitment? And then we'll pick a few stylists that we can profile within the media, so that may be one angle. And another angle might be a new product that they're launching and selling within the store.
Yep.
So not only do we have access to business press and career press for recruitment purposes, but then we can go out to sort of glossy magazines, both men and women, and a whole range of newspapers with their products. So it's getting the media exposure on a whole range of levels over a period of time. So we've been doing their PR now for nearly 2 years, and it doesn't look like stopping anytime soon, I hope.
Yep. So in terms of actually getting our stories in the media, how do we need to angle ourselves or present ourselves to get across?
All right. What you need to do is work out who is your target market. Most of you have probably already worked that out. Once you've worked that out, what you need to do is watch, read and listen to the media that your target market listens to. So go down to the newsagent and spend $50 on a pile of magazines that your customers would read. Watch a current affair, even if you hate it, because it's crap.
But today, tonight, God forbid.
Possibly your customers are watching it and will kill to get your product or service. So that is doing your research. While you're doing that research, you will identify areas that the media are writing about in every magazine or that appear every month on a current affair, and then you can actually target the journalists within that publication or media group with a story idea that you feel their readers or viewers would be interested in. So it's really about getting relevant angles to the right journalists, and that's what is done badly often. Often it's just a generic angle that says nothing about what the actual story is. So
with your stay at a current affair, what was one of the worst approaches that you ever saw?
Oh.
Just one.
How long have you
got?
one. Basically, at a current affair we had a lot of people ringing up saying, oh, can I talk to Mike? And I'd be like, well, he's not here. Yes, he is. I can see him on the television. No, but they...
Psycho.
What you need... Okay, we had a lot of worse stories, but what you basically need for a current affair, think about the vision. All right, you might have lots and lots of information to give, but they need to fill 5 minutes on a screen with more than your head going blah, 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 blah. My business is so interesting, da, 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 da. So what can they film? What can they, and it's often about giving them examples and case studies. So if you've got a product that's going to change diabetes in Australia, you're going to need to find someone who's dying of diabetes and wish they weren't, someone who's surviving because they're using your great product, and, you know, possibly they'd want to film a diabetic group, a support group, you know. So really think about all the different pictures that you can give them, and it's really about case studies. If you don't really have a case study, you don't have a story, because why should they take your word for it as the business owner that you've got the best product or service in the world?
So looking at doing surveys to our existing clients.
Yes, surveys, but you're going to need to be able to offer them people that are willing to go on television and tell their story, because so often they would call, tell me their story for half an hour, and then I'd say, okay, if we are interested in doing a story, you know, who can we talk to? Who can you give us? And they'd say, we don't want to go on television. You know, none of our clients want to go on television. And I'm thinking, well, you've called a television station.
What the hell do you want?
So really, what's important is to think about, what does the person sitting at that desk need? You know what you want, but what will they need to get your story across? And that's what PR is. How can you create win-win situations between yourself and the media? And the problem is, too often business owners are intimidated by the media because they see it as something out there. You know, they watch TV, they read the newspapers, and it's sort of something that's a bit beyond people, but it's actually not, because they are looking for stories to tell, and you've all got brilliant stories. I mean, the economy is made up of small businesses now, and that's what they want to write about. Definitely. So if you've got the story that their readers want to read about, then you're going to help them, because you're providing them with all the details they need to get that story done and get them out the door faster, so they can spend time with their kids or in the pub or whatever they like to do.
Fantastic. Now I'll pass over to you, Di. Yep. Now, you work with Tara Moss?
Yes, I did.
Tell us, you're like, wait a second, here's Tara Moss. Tell us a bit about, I guess, her journey, her story, how you went about helping build her brand.
Okay, well, I first met Tara at a taxi rank. And I had watched Tara. I'm absolutely mad about the media. I watch more television than anyone should humanly do. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Can't get enough. Sat up nearly all night last night watching those fires in California. Unbelievable coverage, incredible. But I do love the media, and I watch Current Affair and Today Tonight and everything. Soak them all up. Read every newspaper I can. So I had been watching Tara. She lived in Sydney at the time, and she was going out with Peter Mockery. No one knew about her down here, but I saw her at the airport getting into a cab, and I went up to her and introduced myself, said, hi, Tara, blah, 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 I'm Di Roll, and I think you're fabulous, and I'd love to be your publicist. Well, that was it. That was the beginning of a very fabulous, long love affair.
Couldn't be any simpler.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to do all this networking and go up and speak to people and introduce yourself. And I did the same thing to James Hurd too, and I also did some work for him, Sir James. That I really believe if you want to get something, you just go up and do it. So I had some great ideas about Tara, and she decided to move down here and live. Now, no one knew her down here, nobody. So we got together and made this plan, and I was going to make her the Princess of Melbourne. That's what I said. Okay, you employ me, I'll make you the Princess of Melbourne. And no one knew her. And so what we did was I got her on the Melbourne Cup list, got her out there in a big hat. She looked stunning. So obviously, you know, I had all that working already. She looked fabulous. And she met a man across the room, as you do, Mark Pennell, who she then married, which was fabulous for me because suddenly this romance was happening. So I had all that to work with. She was falling in love with the local man. So all the rumours started about the romance. And
with those rumours, do you help spur them on?
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, many a time. I'm going to drop names. I'm a terrible name dropper. But I'll tell you, many a time I have rung the press and said, Rod Stewart's going to be in a coffee shop in 5 minutes with his fiancée. Go and hide behind the tree and, you know, take the picture. And then he goes, how did that happen? I don't know. Many times. I did it with Jerry Seinfeld here when he was out here, when he was hanging around Chapel Street. I'd just run into shoe shops and ring the Herald Sun and say, hey, it's Di. You didn't hear it from me, but he's just sitting in a Italian restaurant. And he was on the front page of the Herald Sun the next day. That's an old publicity trick. But with Tara, it was a very methodical plan we made. So we got her to the Melbourne Cup. She met Mark, and the love affair began. And then I got her on the A-list of all the parties. And I'm sure you all started to see photos of her everywhere. There she was, you know, at the opening of this. She was with the guy from Queer Eye, with the straight guy, judging fashions on the field. perfectly planned, the whole thing. Didn't go anywhere near a current affair, didn't go anywhere near, Playboy, didn't do any of that stuff. Finally reached out to Black and White magazine. I was feeding stories to the gossip columns all the time about Tara. Tara Moss just bought a new car, seen shopping at the South Melbourne market, all that stuff. You just got to plant all that stuff so you can get the name out there.
So you're constantly planting the seeds for the
yeah, and watching it all the time. Like if she went out somewhere that she shouldn't have been, I wouldn't have, told anybody about it.
Yeah.
But not that she did that very often. She's very, very clean living. But, always watching everything she did, always watching and knowing that this big plan was happening. She was going to write this book. So from this, from the first sort of little gossipy pieces of publicity with her snake at home. So I'd look at everything you've got going for you. Look at all your lovely cars or your house or your lovely home or whatever and just use everything. And so she loved snakes and she collected snakes. She had 2 snakes. So it was like, that's it, you're getting a photograph taken with a snake. She's like, no one wants to know about me and my snakes. Yep, they do. And so we had this photo taken and from that we ended up with that national coverage, front page. And, she became, and then she wrote the book, Covered, and she's written 4 books. And she got a publisher, HarperCollins, and part of her agreement was that Di has to come with me because HarperCollins book publishers have their own publicists. And what they do is that, and you obviously will know this, they just go to the current affair. They go to all the safe media. They go to Kerry Ann, Today Tonight, Current Affair, Ray Martin, whatever. I did all the nooks and the crannies. I did all the nooks and the crannies. I got her onto Rove when HarperCollins couldn't get her onto Rove. I got her onto Rove. So all the things that were missing and all the things that didn't happen, I became the bad cop. And I'd be like, it's Di Roll here, ringing on behalf of Tara Moss. Tara's available if you want to. And I pushed her and I pushed her and I pushed her to the point where I even got sick of seeing her in the paper. And I remember I started working with her for 6 months and I worked with her for nearly 5 years and we're now great mates and she's in LA at the moment. And I remember the very last thing, she said to me, if you ever see me and I'm overexposed and you've had enough of seeing me, tell me. And I remember the last cup that she started to attend. She rarely goes to the Melbourne Cup anymore, but she might this year. But the last time she went to the Cup, I looked at the news and I saw her with a red hat on and I thought, no more, Tara, we've had enough. That's it. We've seen you in everything, conceivable colour, in every hat, enough. And I remember ringing her and saying, enough, don't go to the Derby.
Is there a certain point that you get overexposed?
Absolutely.
And you need to back off?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that stop you getting further media exposure?
No, not at all.
Continually out in the media?
No, because what happens is you remove yourself and you'll find people who do remove themselves, then suddenly everybody wants them. Yeah. And there are a lot of people who do that. So it was time for her to move on. It was time I said, don't go to the Derby tomorrow. Please don't go to the Derby tomorrow. If I see you in another hat and another dress, I'll throw up, truly. So she didn't. She rang me and she said, I'm in my grey tracksuit and I'm going for a walk and I'm not going to the races. And she just disappeared off the scene. And you may have noticed she just disappeared. And she went to live in Sydney and she's now in LA and she lives in Sydney now full time. She's now, without giving secrets away, a multi-millionaire. She came here with nothing. She had a funny little room in South Melbourne. We used to sit on the floor. She had no furniture. And that little white dog used to run around everywhere and a little computer, that's all she had. And she's now a multi-millionaire. She's got more cars and, she wants a helicopter next. But that was an absolute... I was very proud of my work that I did with her.
It's interesting because we look at published authors and we think that they just got rich.
Yeah, everybody thinks that it happens. Quickly. It just happens. But there was such a strategy behind it.
Just a question, who's in the room, who's actually writing a book or who's just written a book? Because I know there's a couple of members. Got 2? Another one? Yep. So in terms of personal branding, how important is it to, say, have a book, have a CD or have a DVD?
Well, it's very important, and I really believe in personal branding, and I was really interested to hear what you say. I'm very much about who I am, Di Roll. I don't want to be like some publicists who become celebrities themselves, but I'm on A-list, people invite me to things, and I am Di Roll. And I know what that carries with me, and I work alone. And when people employ me to do their publicity, they get me totally 100%. I go and have a meeting with them every week. They're paying me money. I will have a meeting with them every week. And I'm working now. At the moment, I'm working on the WWE wrestling, which is a huge, huge project. It's tough because every day they are on my case.
Okay. Yep.
From America, every day, and from down here in Melbourne, every day. What's happening now? What are we doing? Now, you won't be seeing anything for the moment about WWE, but in about 3 weeks you will see an explosion of WWE.
It will just, you're behind it.
Yeah, I'm behind it.
Yep.
And you will just see it happen, and then it will go away. They will have made millions of dollars, and it'll just go away. And people, men in particular, because the market is... we're looking at 18 to 54, and we're just pitching at men to buy those video games. That's my job. I'm to promote those video games. That's all I'm doing. And I have to have access to those wrestlers, those superstars, to be able to do that, and I have to be able to get them to do publicity. I have a very short amount of time to do it, and I have to kill. I just have to kill it.
So,
it's the same with Shane Warne. I've worked with Shane Warne, who's delightful, by the way.
And I've got to ask, how did you deal with the text message?
Oh, you always have the jokes. But he's actually... he's actually incredibly clever and very smart. And he did a book about cricket statistics and a video about his greatest bowls and things. And he gave me 4 hours to do publicity. That was it. 4 hours. So I did an in-store at Target, and I got all the TV cameras to come down. And for 4 hours, we just solidly signed books, pushed it. It was a sellout. He made a lot of money. Everybody was happy. Target was happy. The kids